Hello there. I am Koios, the Rōnin BeatMaker. And welcome
Hello there.
to Lounge Rōnin. All things, everything. And if you are new to the channel, please make sure to hit that like button and ring that notification bell and subscribe. And please leave a comment with your thoughts below and a dash of constructive criticism. And on this episode, we're going to discuss Axum, the first Millennium Powerhouse. Now, if you have been following along over the past live streams, this is part of a series covering Queen Sheba, King Solomon, and the origins, and particularly, specifically, Queen Sheba, the origins of her reign to power and the kingdoms and civilizations that bore fruit due to this first kingdom of Axum. So if you are interested in learning a little bit more about certain historical figures who may have their origins in this kingdom, Queen Sheba is one of them in particular that I highly recommend you check out that live stream after this. So, without further ado, let us get into it. All right. This article was updated April 13th, 2019, and it was written by Carrie Sullivan. The Kingdom of Axum, Facts and Legends of a First Millennium Powerhouse. Located on the Horn of Africa, the ancient Ethiopian kingdom of Axum, also spelled Axum, played a significant role in international relations around the time of the first millennium. At its height, Axum controlled modern-day Ethiopia, Eritrea, Sudan, western Yemen, southern Saudi Arabia, and parts of Somalia. Although largely forgotten today, references to Ethiopians can be seen in such seminal works as the Bible, the Quran, Homer's Iliad, and Dante's Divine Comedy. Such wide acclaim reflects the power and influence once held by the powerful Axumite Empire. There are some interesting legends connected to the fallen kingdom as well. The capital of the kingdom, also called Axum, is allegedly the home to the famed Queen of Sheba, and stories say the Ark of the Covenant was taken to the kingdom too. And here we have a map portraying all of the areas of the various kingdoms of that time period. Let's see. So they have the Ptolemaic Egypt, and I think around that time, that's the dynasty that Cleopatra uh, is from. And I also believe the Princess Senu, but I'm not sure on that one, so don't quote me on that. But and you can see the kingdom Axum all the way to the right corner. Um, to the right of it, you'll see Christian Ethiopia. So here is the kingdom of Axum over here. You know, I might end up looking into some of these places afterwards. Give me one quick second, guys. Okay, let us continue. Origins and expansion of the kingdom of Axum. The local Agwa people of northern Ethiopia first began to populate and expand the city of Axum around 400 BC. By the mid 2nd century, Axum had developed into a regionally dominant kingdom. That was in large part thanks to maritime transformations enacted by the ever expanding Roman Empire. Ideally situated on the Red Sea, the kingdom was at the crossroads of three continents: Africa, Arabia, and Greco Roman world, and was the most powerful state between the Eastern Roman Empire and Persia. The Horn of Africa was an incredibly fertile land, and Axum exported a wide range of agricultural products such as wheat and barley, and animals such as sheep, cattle, and camels. The kingdom was also rich in gold, iron, and salt, a precious commodity in those days. Axum was also in command of the ivory trade coming out of Sudan. In exchange for these goods, it fared tortoise shells, spices, silks, emeralds, and crafted goods between Rome and India. The importance of Ethiopia as a trade hub is attested to in a trader's handbook from Alexandria dating from the 1st century entitled The Periplus of the Erythraean Sea. Here we have a map depicting the various trade routes and the various goods. Legends of the Queen of Sheba and the Solomonic dynasty. Ethiopian legends state that Axum, the capital city of the empire, was the home of the Queen of Sheba. Although the Queen of Sheba lived centuries before the kingdom of Axum, its kings of the Solomonic dynasty traced their routes to the famous queen and king Solomon of Israel. Now, if you want to know a little bit about that, I highly recommend you check out my live stream on Queen Sheba and how kinky King Solomon was. Stories say that the queen went to see Solomon in Jerusalem after hearing of his wisdom, and when she was there, he was enthralled by her beauty, and after they slept together, the Queen of Sheba became pregnant with his child. The baby boy was named Ibn al-Malik, also known as Menilk, and he was a founder of the Solomonic dynasty. Ethiopian kings, including those from the kingdom of Axum, claimed descent from Menilk. The Golden Age of Axum. The kingdom of Axum reached its zenith in the 3rd to 5th centuries AD. This golden age began with the famed king Ezana, who converted his kingdom to Christianity in 3024 AD. Indeed, coins minted under King Eznana, sorry, were the first in the world to feature the image of a cross. Shout out to Ethiopia. Ezana also placed much importance on written documents. Now, I don't know how many people know out there, but like the oldest known Bible comes out of Ethiopia. So like I know you might, hear stories of a lighter skin tone of Jesus Christ, but um, that brother was dark skinned. Just letting y'all know. And if you're interested, there is a book. Um, Let me pull it up real quick. Well, at least let me give you guys the title. So if you're interested, you can look it up yourself. And it's called Black Star, The African Presence in Early Europe. If you look at a lot of early Europe statues that are still erected today, they have a black um, Madonna and a black Jesus. So, there are a lot of with the rise of the European countries out of the Stone Age, or I should say out of the Dark Ages, came the erasure of history and the replacement of a new perception of history. So if you guys are curious about things like that, I highly recommend you check out Michael Imhotep, Shaka Atmos, or Hotep Jesus. They're great sources for more true versions of history, I should say. But let's continue. Okay, here we have a Ezana Stone Records, Negus Egana's conversion to Christianity and his subjugation of various neighboring peoples, including Meroe. These manuscripts provide much of what is known about Axum today. They are written in the indigenous language Ge'ez, examples of which date back at least the 18th century BC. Some scholars believe that a scriptum, scribal school, may have existed in northern Ethiopia, providing scribes for the region as well as for the Nile Valley. And here we have a coin of the Axumite king, Ezana. Fascinating. I'd say, it seems like Ethiopia has a lot of fascinating history to uncover and learn about. The kingdom of Axum had a complex social hierarchy and its cities and elaborate settlement patterns. The stratified society had an upper elite of kings and nobles and a lower elite of lesser nobles as well as wealthy merchants and farmers. And finally, a tier of ordinary people, such as small farmers, craftsmen, and traders. Archaeologists have uncovered administrative documents and tombs which suggest that the elite beyond extravagant enjoyed extravagant burial practices, including funerary monuments known as stelae. The towers or obelisks were elaborately carved with inscriptions from top to bottom. They also had stone doors and fake windows. The tallest of these stelae was 100 feet high. I think I covered a little bit of these when I did my live stream on pre-dynastic Egypt. So if you're interested about learning about that, I highly recommend you check that out after this episode. Here we have the largest Ascumite stele broken where it fell. Massive. Religion in the Kingdom of Axum. Initially, Christianity was only practiced by Axum elites. It did not spread to everywhere until the late 5th century, when missionaries fleeing from the Eastern Roman Empire, Byzantine, sought shelter in the kingdom of Axum and were given permission to proselytize. The missionaries came to the Ethiopian Orthodox Taodo Church because they maintained a monotheistic doctrine. Here we have on a seems like a wooden carving and drawing or wooden illustration. This Ethiopian icon shows St. George, the crucifixion, and the Virgin Mary. Although many of the Western empires accepted Christianity by the 5th century BC, debates range over the nature of Christ's status. Monotheism, trying to say that 3 times fast, argued that Jesus Christ had a single nature and that was a synthesis of divine and human. This point of view was branded heretical by the Council of Chalcedon in 451. Powerful Rome and Constantinople believed in diophydeism, that is, that Jesus Christ maintained 2 natures, one divine and one human. This debate, heavily influenced by political and cultural rivalries, led to the final schism of the Oriental Orthodox churches from the Western and Eastern Orthodox churches. The Axumite Empire ultimately declined. However, the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church is still a thriving sect of Christianity, administering to roughly 45 to 50 million people worldwide. Here we have a picture of an Ethiopian Orthodox choir. Is the Ark of the Covenant in Ethiopia? Legends say there is another link between Axum and Israel, an important religious connection. When Menelik grew up, he asked who his father was, and upon discovering it was King Solomon, the young man went to see him. Menelik stayed with Solomon for 3 years, but was asked to leave when the Israelites complained about his likeness to the king, which apparently confused them. I wonder why. When Menelik was sent away, he was accompanied by the eldest son of the high priest, Azariah, and 1,000 people from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. But before they left, Azariah had a dream telling him to take the Ark of the Covenant with him. Azariah took the Ark from the temple and replaced it with a copy and then brought the religious relics with him to his new home. Even today, there is a strong belief that the Ark of the Covenant is located somewhere in Ethiopia. And what's interesting about that is I remember watching like a small documentary, and I believe they mentioned a church in Ethiopia that had the Ark of the Covenant, and I say had because it was stolen. Or I might have it backwards. I'm not sure. But I remember watching a documentary about a church in Ethiopia that supposedly had the Ark of the Covenant in it. If I can find it, I'll add it into the description. Why did the kingdom of Axum fall? Historians are not certain what exactly led to the decline of the kingdom of Axum, but several factors are thought to have been at play. One of the first acts in the empire's fall came in 520 when King Caleb led a campaign against the Jewish Himyaric king Duo Nuwas, who was persecuting Christians in Yemen. Although the Axumite forces won the conflict and secured Christianity in Yemen, at least until the advent of Islam, the years of battle overexhausted Axum's wealth and manpower. Moreover, the foray may have invited the plague of Justinian, which struck Ethiopia around the same time. The plague, which ravaged much of the Byzantine Empire in the 6th century, is thought to be the first recorded instance of the bubonic plague. Huh. And here we have a Egyptian woven woolen curtain of trousers, which was a copy of a Sasanic silk import, which was in turn based on a fresco of King Khusra the First fighting Ascumite Ethiopian forces in Yemen, 5th century to 6th century. To add to the woes of warfare and pandemic, in the 7th century AD, the Islamic Empire was beginning its rapid spread across Arabia and northern Africa. Between the 7th and 8th centuries, Axum lost control of the Red Sea and most of the Nile. Not only did this leave Axum in economic isolation, but it also forced most of the city's Christian inhabitants to move further inland for protection. Finally, a series of climate changes devastated the Ethiopian people. The large population of the Axum Empire placed much pressure on the Tigray Plateau, where the kingdom was based, ultimately leading to catastrophic levels of soil erosion. Historians believe that this process was accelerated by an apparent decline in the reliability of rainfall around 730 to 760 AD. This reduced the growing season significantly and was not corrected until well into the 9th century. Despite its collapse, the city of Axum is still inhabited to this day by approximately 50,000 people, making it the oldest continuously inhabited city on the continent. Wow, that's awesome. And there you have it. The rise and fall of the kingdom of Axum. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. These little nuggets of history that are not often covered really shed light a lot on what we really don't know about that time period. And I'm glad that I'm able to share these little nuggets of info with you guys, because I think it's great for all of us to just kind of get a little understanding of, especially the religious implications. For anyone out there, whatever denomination you practice, if you practice any of the main ones, then it's important to kind of know some of the origins of where your religious practices come from, considering the fact that Ethiopia and this kingdom was the first one to have a Christian coin. It seems like they were some of the first ones to practice Christianity. I know Europe likes to take credit for that, but it seems like history says otherwise. So, with these little nuggets of history, I highly recommend people out there to kind of take these little nuggets and add it to your expansion of understanding of our world and history. Because these little things right here, they really tell you a better understanding of our origins of this current age of humanity, and how we can kind of learn from the past. Because with everything that's kind of going on in the world currently, you can clearly look back to the past and get a good understanding of how things are possibly going to repeat themselves. And it's no different than you look at the fall of the Roman Empire. It's very similar, or the fall of Sparta, or even Athens. A lot of these, or even Greece entirely. A lot of these great kingdoms and nations of old, during a time of plenty of prosperity and wealth and vices, people become complicit and complacent. And you see that right now with the push of more sexual freedom and degradation, and the falsification of the economy, all of these things, and the erosion of religion, all of these things were heavily, and lack of food, and I could keep going on and on. But all of these things are what you're seeing presently going on in Western society as it is. And so that's why when I'm mentioning um, some of the things that we just covered, you look at some of the issues that the Axum Empire had fallen. It's no different than what you're seeing right now uh, with the current Western society, especially when it comes to the United States imperialism, the overexpansion, all the wars, constant fighting, constant violence, um, over expansion of its economic capabilities, and lack of proper discipline. And as that continues to happen, you're going to continue to see these cycles continue. And that's why I think it's really important to make sure that we are aware of these little nuggets of history. I mean, granted, you could do all your deep dive into the collapse of the Spartan Empire and or the Roman Empire, but whether it's in the Mediterranean or in northern Eastern Africa, the same thing will repeat itself. And as I was reading this article, I was just thinking about the current state of the world, and I'm like, man, we are no different than Axum. We are no different than the Roman Empire. And I hope that anyone out there who's listening and who's been enjoying this, and who makes sure that they hit that like button, that they share this little bit of information out there with any like-minded individuals, so that they take some time to kind of reflect on the type of the side of history they want to be on. And I think that's really, really important for people to really start thinking about and taking into consideration. What side of history do you want to be on? Do you want to be on the side of history that repeats itself, or do you want to be on the side of history that evolves and grows and expands its capabilities and its humanity? Because right now, if you look around you, uh, we are losing our sense of humanity, and we are embracing this um, transhumanistic mentality and ideology that is separating us from our godhood, from our spirits. And what's funny about it is, even if you were to look at it now, whether it's the Apple Vision Pro goggles, whether it's cell phones, whether it's social media, it's no different than similar influences of past kingdoms. They didn't have necessarily Twitter and YouTube and iPhones and Instagram and all that fun jazz, but the same level of influences that they had back then, whether it's from various priesthoods, various generals, various kings, various noble influences, you can see how their ability to embellish, to manipulate uh, the lower class of people also contributes to the collapse of these many nations. And that's one thing that I find really funny about it, is a lot of these, incredible nations, they are their own worst enemy. And that is something that I don't think many Americans or Westerners in Europe are realizing right now, that by being uh, complacent as their oligarchs and governments begin to overreach the capabilities of their humanity and of their countries, you're just going to see the same cycle again. And this time around, you just have Twitter and Instagram to complain about it, as opposed to going to your local temple or town square. So, everyone out there, just remember that our history is our greatest teachers and our greatest guides, and we cannot lose sight of that. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Lounge Rōnin. All things, everything. If you have made it this far and you've enjoyed what you've heard, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe and ring that notification bell. And much love to all my listeners over on Rumble, Twitter, YouTube, Kick, Twitch. And until next time, stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love.